The world of 4.7 million years ago was both familiar and alien. Seas still broke upon continents shaped much like our own, yet vast inland regions lay untouched by human hands. In this deep chapter of the Pliocene epoch, our distant ancestors, small, clever and endlessly adaptive, were taking their first confident steps into a world that demanded every ounce of ingenuity to survive. It was a planet of extremes, indeed. Seasonal rains could transform parched grasslands into lush green oceans of life within weeks, only to be stripped bare by drought and fire. Predators roamed in staggering diversity: saber-toothed cats, giant hyenas, and packs of early hunting dogs. Across the globe, primates of the genus Australopithecus in Africa and other hominin cousins yet to emerge in Eurasia were living lives of relentless vigilance and innovation. The Pliocene was not an age of stable comfort. Global temperatures averaged warmer than today, but they were cooling gradually, foreshadowing the ice ages to come. Seasonal variation was pronounced, and for early humans this meant constant adjustment. In Africa's Rift Valley, the grassy savannas stretched alongside belts of acacia woodlands and gallery forests. Rainfall was uneven, sometimes generous, sometimes dangerously scarce. The ability to read the sky, track weather changes, and remember the locations of distant waterholes was as critical to survival as any tool. Meanwhile, Eurasia and parts of North America were covered in mixed forests and open plains, teeming with grazing animals that migrated with the seasons. Early hominins and their primate relatives were largely absent here. They had yet to make the full journey out of Africa. But the ecosystems they would one day inherit were already in place. Survival 4.7 million years ago was not simply a matter of chasing prey. For Australopithecus afarensis, a likely dominant hominin of the time, meat was opportunistic, scavenged from predator kills or caught in small bursts of hunting skill, but plants remained the core of the diet. Roots, tubers, nuts, seeds, berries and fibrous leaves formed a daily menu. The chewing surfaces of fossilized teeth from this era show heavy wear, suggesting a diet that demanded powerful jaws and patience. But early humans were not passive foragers. Sharp stone flakes, perhaps the very beginnings of tool culture, may have been used to scrape bark, split open nuts, or extract marrow from long bones. Marrow, rich in fat and nutrients, would have been a vital calorie source in lean times. The shift toward even rudimentary tool use marked a turning point. Survival was no longer dependent solely on physical strength, but also on cognitive skill. At 4.7 million years ago, the world's apex predators were faster, stronger, and more specialized than our ancestors. Lions and leopards were not yet in their modern forms, but their predecessors were formidable. The saber-toothed cats, particularly species like Meganterion, could ambush from cover and deliver lethal bites to the necks of large prey. Packs of early canids, perhaps distant ancestors of wolves, roamed the savannas, their endurance hunts forcing herds to scatter. For early humans, the danger was constant. Fossil sites show bite marks on hominin bones, a stark reminder that they were as much hunted as they were hunters. Survival demanded acute awareness, sleeping in elevated tree nests or rocky shelters, moving in small bands to watch for threats, and using sticks or stones as deterrents. The predator-rich environment likely drove the evolution of cooperative behavior. Safety in numbers was not a choice, it was a necessity. In many regions, water was the single most decisive factor in survival. The shifting climate made water sources unpredictable. Rivers could shrink to muddy trickles, while seasonal rains could transform dry valleys into dangerous floods. Our ancestors likely memorized the locations of semi-permanent springs, shallow wells and seepages. In some cases, they may have followed migrating herds, whose movements signaled the location of distant water. Bones of multiple species found together at ancient waterholes suggest that these sites were both lifelines and death traps. Predators knew where prey would gather. The ability to travel long distances on two legs, conserving energy and carrying food, made early humans more adaptable than many competitors. Bipedalism was not just about freeing the hands for tools, it was a survival adaptation for tracking water and food across vast landscapes. Fire, at around 4.7 million years ago, was still untamed. Our ancestors had no mastery over it, relying instead on the warmth of the sun, the insulation of foliage and, well, the protection of natural shelters. Lava flows, lightning strikes and wildfires would have been both awe-inspiring and terrifying, perhaps inspiring the earliest curiosity about controlling flame. Shelter was improvised, trees for safety caves for protection from wind and predators and overhangs to shield from rain. In colder highland areas, bands likely migrated to lower, warmer valleys during seasonal chills. Mobility was itself a form of shelter, ensuring they were always in a zone that supported life. While Africa was the cradle of early hominins, life 4.7 million years ago elsewhere was unfolding in its own way. In South America, giant ground sloths roamed alongside early relatives of armadillos and massive terror birds. In Australia, marsupial predators dominated, and the landscape was dotted with eucalyptus woodlands and grasslands. Though humans had yet to arrive in these places, their eventual survival strategies would be shaped by the ecosystems already in place. The interconnectedness of the planet's climate and biomes meant that shifts in ocean currents or glaciation patterns in one hemisphere could ripple across continents, altering the challenges our ancestors faced. Survival was not just physical, it was social. Small groups, likely no more than a dozen individuals, shared responsibilities for watching over the young, finding food, and defending against threats. Fossil evidence of healed injuries suggests that even in this distant time care was given to injured members, a sign of empathy and social bonds that went beyond instinct. Communication was likely a mix of vocal calls, gestures and facial expressions, laying the groundwork for the complex languages that would one day define humanity. These early social structures not only increased survival odds but also accelerated the sharing of knowledge, which plants were safe, which paths led to water where predators roamed. What kept our species' lineage alive through this unforgiving era was not dominance over nature, but adaptability within it. Early humans and their relatives were not the fastest runners, the strongest fighters, or the most specialized hunters. They survived because they could adjust, shifting diets, altering migration routes, forming alliances, and learning from both success and disaster. The world of 4.7 million years ago was a testing ground. Every drought, every predator encounter, every failed forage forced small innovations that over millennia would accumulate into the survival toolkit of modern humans. The story of that time is not one of conquering the environment, but of enduring it, a lesson as relevant now as it was then. For in those fragile bands of upright apes, dodging predators and chasing water under a shifting Pliocene sky, lay the unbroken chain of survival that leads to every one of us alive today. If you enjoyed this journey into the deep past, subscribe to In the Beginning for more immersive explorations of the moments that shaped humanity. Share this story with fellow history enthusiasts and keep the conversation about our ancient origins alive.